What's going on, my beautiful people? Hello everyone, welcome to another Chelsea transfer news daily video for you guys, where I keep you guys up to date with all the latest Chelsea news. A massive update. A podcast was released with Matt Law on it this morning. We're going to be speaking about Adama Traore, Declan Rice, Erling Haaland, Romelu Lukaku, Loftus-Cheek, a mega transfer update. I'll be delving into all the latest news. Matt Law, the most reliable journalist you can get in terms of Chelsea. He's got his close contacts and sources. He is tier one when it comes to Chelsea news, and some major breaking news updates. But before I do get into it, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and comment down below your thoughts and opinions on each story that I do speak about. But without further ado, let's get straight into this news daily, and starting off with, of course, rounding up what Matt Law said on the podcast. He mentioned a few things, and of course I'm going to be summarising because the podcast was over an hour long. It's very long. If you want to go listen to it yourselves, it's on Twitter. Type in London Blue Podcast. Of course, they invited Matt Law as a guest, and you can listen to the full thing yourself. But here, I'll be covering the summary of it, the main important parts for you guys, and dumbing it down and giving you guys my thoughts and opinions. Now, in regards to Adama Traore, there is definite interest, according to Matt Law. Tuchel really wants a right-sided player, and apparently his valuation of Adama Traore will be between 20 to 25 million pounds. Now, I'm very surprised by that valuation. You know, I had this conception that he would be between 40 to 50 million pounds. I thought that that's what Wolves would be commanding. You know, again, he's strong. He's still one of Wolves' best players, despite his lack of technical qualities, even though he's very physically powerful and strong. And of course, we know that we missed out on Ashraf Hakimi. It seemed like Tuchel's really adamant on that right-sided player. You know, he really wants a player down the right-hand side, which leads me to believe, are we sticking with a three-at-the-back formation? Because if he's so adamant on signing, you know, another wing-back to compete with Reece James or to give another dimension, that means surely we're sticking with the three-at-the-back. And I've been told conflicting things. I've also seen conflicting reports because, you know, we're also told, you know, Matt Law released an article a few months ago that Tuchel wants to be implementing a four-at-the-back system. He wants to go ahead next season and for the long term use a 4-2-4 formation. So if we're going to be, you know, implementing that four-at-the-back style, that style of play in football, then surely what's the point of signing a wing-back? So this is the thing where it's a bit of a conundrum here. It's a bit confusing. There's a lot of misconceptions. Now let's wait and see. Now the thing with the beauty of Thomas Tuchel is he doesn't, you know, usually set down on one specific formation. At Paris Saint-Germain and also at Borussia Dortmund, he did use the four-at-the-back and three-at-the-back. Now, he hasn't used the three-at-the-back as much at Paris Saint-Germain or Dortmund, and he's pretty much used it every game so far at Chelsea. But going forward long-term, I think he will be switching depending on the game and depending on the game situations and scenarios. I think Adama Traore would be a very good fit in terms of what he can offer and bring, and I'll give you guys my thoughts and opinions in a second. So, again, it's not saying that Chelsea are about to bid. It's not saying that the deal is imminent, etc., etc. Matt Law is saying how much it would cost if Chelsea potentially went in to dip into the market to sign Adama. So he's saying between 20 to 25 million pounds, and there is definite concrete interest in him. So don't be surprised, is all I'm saying, is if we do end up signing Adama Traore, because of course he is someone Tuchel admires very much. He is someone the club have looked, you know, inquired after for the past 2-3 seasons. So all I'm saying is don't be surprised if Chelsea do in fact make, you know, a bid or try and purchase Adama as well. Now, in terms of my thoughts and opinions, again, when I first heard this from him a few weeks ago, I was quite put off. I said, you know, he's going to be another, you know, deadwood signing. He's going to be a squad filler. You know, we made this mistake in 2017 when we signed your Zabakostas, your Drinkwaters, your Bakayokas, etc., which, by the way, we still haven't sold off those players. They are still, you know, insanely, they are still, all three of those players are still on Chelsea's books. They're all on loan somewhere. Hopefully we're going to get a fee for Bakayoko. Drinkwater's on loan somewhere in Turkey, and Zabakos's on loan in Italy. We still can't get a fee. They've been going all over Europe and we're just collecting loan fees, and they're still on Chelsea's wage books, and it's not good for the finances of the club. It's not good for the accounting side. It's not good for the actual players because they're getting tossed around all over Europe and they haven't got a new home. So this is the thing. I thought that we were past this. And Adama Traore screams another squad for the signing who's never going to push for the first team, and it's just a waste of money, waste of wages, especially when I thought he would cost between 40 to 45 million pounds. However, for 20 to 25 million pounds, you can't really go wrong, can you? Okay, he's not the most glamorous player. He's not the most technically gifted player. Will he ever be world class? I highly doubt it. However, in terms of competition, in terms of what he can offer, in terms of adding a new dimension, he does offer a new dimension. You know, he is very physically strong. He's powerful, he's pacey, and he is statistically one of the best dribblers in the league. You can look at the statistics. Last season, the season before, he had one of the best dribbling stats in the Premier League. Yes, people, pull up on his end product, and there is some context behind that. Now, he plays in a Wolves team on the Nuno at the time where they're played in a very defensive counter-attacking system where you're not allowed much time, a lot of creativity to be able to go forward, and so of course your numbers are going to be deflated. Secondly, Raul Jimenez was injured for the majority of last season, so of course his numbers once again will be deflated because he's not getting those assists, nor is he getting enough goals, because of course their main threat in Raul Jimenez unfortunately picked up that long-term skull fracture. So of course there is some context to that. Of course there are some drawbacks. He's not the most technically gifted. His end product is a bit questionable, as is something that we have to question. And of course he's not the most technically gifted on the ball as well, in terms of moving the ball around, in terms of picking out passes, in terms of being clean on the ball. His actual awareness is not the best as well. And of course, as I said, I don't see Adama ever being world class. Of course, he has got his qualities. Defensively, he's not the strongest, but as a wing back for competition and as backup, to sit on the bench, be an impact player, maybe in the 65th minute, in the 60th minute, you can bring him on for pace, power, electricity. Of course, Adama would be your guy, but let's just wait and see. And the thing I've always mentioned with this, and I've always said, is whoever Tuchel wants, let's just back him, because at the end of the day, we've made this mistake before where we're not backing managers. The managers fall out with the hierarchy, and it goes south. It goes south very quickly. So I think it's time now. If Tuchel really wants Adama, he admires Adama, then I think it's time, especially for that fee, 20 to 25 million. As I said, you can't really go wrong, can you? So let's just wait and see. Again, there's no bid. It's just how much is valued at by Wolves, and the fact that there is actually concrete interest in Adama. But that's enough of Traore. Let's move on to Lukaku. And of course, he said on the podcast that he's not convinced everything is over with Romelu Lukaku, which is quite interesting. He said Inter Milan might need to sell him. And it's quite interesting because I mentioned Lukaku yesterday, and there were reports from various Italian publications, Corriere dello Sport, coming out publicly as well. Lukaku in interviews saying that he's really happy in Inter Milan. He loves life there. He just won the Scudetto with Inter Milan. He's got a fantastic relationship with the new manager, Simeone Inzaghi, and he wants to stay at least for another season. So we thought, that's that then. He's staying at Inter. We now need to move on to other targets, cough, Erling Haaland, etc. However, of course, if Matt Law's saying that it's not over, it's not over. And of course, money talks in the game. Yes, Lukaku can publicly come out and say he's staying in Inter Milan, but if Chelsea cough up the money, if Chelsea say here's 85, here's 90 million pounds straight cash on the table, especially with Inter's financial situation, the tax is ending today as I record this video. Of course, they've got that Hakimi money, which is going to help them massively financially in terms of accounting and balancing those books. The Lukaku money will go a long way in terms of revenue. COVID hit them hard. They're not getting the match day revenue in terms of a source of income, as many clubs are not, of course. But Inter Milan are really struggling financially. Of course, that Lukaku money would help them. So it's a case of money will talk. Now, is Lukaku first choice? We know that for a fact he's not. Haaland is first choice. However, Lukaku is still one of our targets. He's still on the shortlist for Chelsea. And of course, if we can't, sign Erling Haaland, and of course Chelsea desperately need a world-class number 9, don't be surprised if Chelsea going for Romelu Lukaku. So it's quite interesting to hear from Matt Law that he is convinced that not everything is quite over with Romelu Lukaku. Now, let's move on to Declan Rice, because there's some news on the podcast as well, carrying on with the podcast, that Chelsea are being told that £100 million for Declan Rice. That is what West Ham value Declan Rice, which is absolutely ludicrous. Astronomical fee. If it comes down to £70 million, it could get interesting. Now, can I just clarify and point out quickly? £100 million valuation for Declan Rice is absolutely extortionate. It's ludicrous. It's flabbergasting and laughable. It is honestly comical, because is Declan Rice a good player? Yes, he's a good player. Is Declan Rice world class? No, not yet. I don't think he ever will be. And thirdly, for the quality he is, you can pick up a lot of players with much better potential to Declan Rice for a significantly lower fee. We're talking Tuchel, we're talking Bruno from Lyon. There are a lot of players around Europe that you can pick up for significantly cheaper money, who are actually better, in my personal opinion, who actually fit Tuchel's system. So for me, this English tax, this Premier League tax, £100 million, no way. I would never ever pay that fee. Now, even £70 million for me is extortion. It is. I don't think he's worth anywhere near 70. If I'm being brutally honest, from my perspective, I think Rice is worth maybe 40, max 50. That is really pushing it, £50 million. I'm surprised Chelsea even, considering £70 million. As I said, if it's £100 million, Chelsea are not going to go anywhere near that. Of course, West Ham have got Europa League, so they've got a bit of income in terms of Europe. Declan Rice may be incentivised to stay because, of course, he's got European football. He still has to honour his contract. He has a lot of respect for West Ham. Of course, he would love a move to Chelsea, but at the moment, nothing significant. There's no momentum in that Declan Rice move. Yes, of course, things can change drastically. If you're asking me, I don't see this still happening this summer. If it's ever going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen now because of the fee. West Ham want £100 million. He's got 3 years left on this current contract and deal. And of course, Chelsea would want to reduce that significantly. I don't think the West Ham would budge. So I don't see this happening, but it's interesting to hear that Chelsea could be negotiating West Ham if they're willing to drop their £100 million asking price. But what do you guys think? Leave me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. But moving on finally to the podcast, he was asked about Loftus-Cheek, and in Matt Law's words, he said Thomas Tuchel really wants to see Loftus-Cheek. He is one of the players that Tuchel is most interested to see. There's talks, there's tentative things going on, but it's still quite quiet around the Haaland situation. Now, initially with the Romelu Loftus-Cheek stuff, I told you guys a few days ago they expect Romelu Loftus-Cheek to have a pre-season with Chelsea. Of course, he's returned on loan from Fulham. He didn't have the best of loans, but he really is desperate to make here at Chelsea. He still is relatively young, entering his prime. He had that horrific injury in America, of course. We know that Achilles injury, the ACL. And he wants to prove himself on the Tuchel. It's pretty much his last chance to essentially save his Chelsea career, but he has to perform. He has to perform in pre-season. Of course, as fans, we have to put our trust and faith in Loftus-Cheek, and let's see how he does in pre-season. I'm actually glad that Tuchel is willing to give Loftus-Cheek an opportunity, especially with Billy Gilmour on the verge of signing for Norwich City on loan. Of course, we need numbers in that midfield, and of course, Ruben can offer us that depth in that pivot 6 position. So let's see how Ruben gets on in pre-season. And finally, some news about Haaland. Of course, I've already mentioned tentative things going on. Now, if you guys don't know what tentative mean, it means, low confidence. It's preliminary talks. No confidence, they're quite hesitant, which is not good news. It means that Roman is talking to them, but there's not much confidence around the deal yet. But as I said, it's preliminary, so it means that we are still in the early stages. Now, maybe Matt Law knows a bit more than what he's revealing, but maybe he's not allowed to say, because we know that Chelsea love keeping things in privacy. They love to do deals under the wraps, which of course you have to respect that completely. And I beg and I hope that's the case, because if it is really early stages for Erling Haaland at this stage, as I record, it's July tomorrow, that's not good, because that means pre-season starts in 4 weeks, and a mega deal like this will take time. So I'm hoping it's not the early stages, but at this moment in time, it's preliminary talks, and there's not much confidence, so that's not good. However, Haaland could still happen, so don't bring your hopes down, but let's just see what happens. But that is me wrapping up the news daily. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see all of you guys for my next video. Peace.